Good evening. Welcome to Coaches of the Common. Tonight we're up to episode number 13 of the Coaches of the Common, and it's a chance for us to talk about another of my favourite subjects, stress, and how you actually handle it. We've got Dave back again. Evening,
How are
Dave.
you? Thanks.
Yeah, nice to have you here. Dave was actually here a couple of weeks ago and was talking about a completely different topic, systems and processes. And when the camera got turned off, we actually had a couple of questions for him after the camera got turned off, and we learnt some fascinating things about how Dave actually manages stress in his life. So we thought this would actually be worthwhile sharing with all of the entrepreneurs and business owners out there about how you can, first of all, recognise when you're stressed, and secondly, what you can do to actually overcome that. So Dave, welcome back.
Thanks.
Lovely to have you here.
Nice to be back.
Yeah, and we want to sort of almost have that informal discussion that we had last week off the camera, but on the camera. But let's start with a bit of formal stuff first of all. So stress, what is stress and how do you know if you're stressed?
So stress to me is that uncomfortable feeling, like when I'm in front of a camera.
Yep.
But it's where you become, I guess, anxious. Your breathing starts to shallow and increase in frequency of breath, and you start to feel uncomfortable. And that could be, it could be work-related stress. It could be that you're stressed about jumping off a bungee. It could be, there are a number of different things. Some of them are good stresses because you're pushing your comfort zone, and some of them are bad stresses because you're literally juggling too many balls.
Right, yeah.
So I guess the clinical version of stress is the Yerkes-Dodson law, which is we know as the performance versus arousal curve. This means your performance with the number of balls you're trying to juggle increases. So as you get to a certain point, you reach your peak. And then when you start adding more balls onto that, you start coming on the back of the stress curve. So your performance actually starts dropping as you start adding tasks on. So, and that could be because you're making more mistakes, or you're just not achieving your tasks as quickly because you're trying to hold too much in instead of focusing on one thing at a time. So the backside of that stress curve is what I would kind of define as stress. Yep. And the practical signs of it are all those physical symptoms or physiological symptoms, not sleeping properly, and you generally notice your health deteriorating, needing more coffee and things to keep going.
I think
Lots
I can relate, yes.
Lots of signs.
Okay, so the reality is that as a business owner, there are going to be times when there are a lot going on, right? And we just can't help that. So it's part of the joys of being a business owner. So how do we deal with that? I know that you've got some personal things that you do to actually help deal with that. So give me a few examples of things that you do. First of all, when you pick up on that stress, and then, how do you deal with it?
So when I pick up on it, obviously alcohol is not the answer.
Damn!
It's nice, but what I do is I try and work out what's stressing me. Is it what I call energy vampires, which are people around you that just are robbing all of your energy and your enthusiasm for life? You've got to kind of deal with that and get rid of them somehow.
Yep.
If you're working for an employer that's doing that to you, you've just got to get rid of that or face it or confront it.
Yep.
If you've got a staff member or some staff members that are just doing the same to you, they're through unreliability or whatever, you've just got to try and cut it out of your life as quickly as you can and make a plan to do that. Mm-hmm. But if it's because you're taking on too much for yourself, or you're just confronted as a business owner with too many things being thrown at you, it could be opportunities, it could be great stress. I tend to bite-size chunk it, and by bite-size chunking it, I can make sure that I'm operating at the peak of that stress curve, so I'm getting as much done as I can. You can't ask anybody to do more than operate at the peak there. We're all humans, right? And we all have limitations. Yep. You just want to maximise what you can get out of yourself. The other thing that helps me a lot...
Sorry, just to interrupt. So when you say chunk it, what do you mean by chunking it?
So what I do is I decide, right, I've got 10 things to do. I'm going to ignore 8 of them. Yep. Or 9 of them, and focus on the most important one. And you can draw up a matrix, which is one of our business coaching tools, where you can rank the outcome versus effort and just prioritise the tasks that you need to work through from 1 to 10 in order of most important out of those balls, and the most effect you're going to get for the minimal time. Mm-hmm. So you start saying, right, well, I've got a highly profitable customer that I'm about to lose here. That's the maximum effect, and the minimum amount of time I'm going to ignore the other 9 for now and just focus on that and deal with that, and then the next one, and then the next one. So I try and shut the rest out. Right. But the other thing I do to try and get more out of myself is I do less. So I'll do less work. So I start to bring in things like meditation, even if it's just 5 minutes of breathing before and after I go to sleep, and trying to focus. I've got a dog, so taking that for a walk always clears my head. Turning a cell phone off is really important as well.
Turning a cell phone off.
Yeah, put it on aircraft mode and ignore it.
Yeah.
Even if it's just for an evening to give yourself a break.
Do you have a time, because I turn my phone on to sort of silent mode between 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. in the morning. Do you have a time that you actually literally kind of switch it off and say, no, I'm not available, or is it?
No, it just depends on how I'm feeling. Right. So if I'm feeling like I'm a little overloaded, then I'll turn it off earlier. If I'm feeling like I've got capacity and I'm bored, then I'll leave it on for longer and just respond to things. It just depends on what I'm doing. If it's raining outside and I've got nothing to do, I might as well answer a few emails and things like that, and it's not stressing me out, so that's no problem.
Okay.
The other thing that I try and do a bit of is yoga, and that for me, I can't always commit to the same time every week.
Yeah.
But
so we're just getting a thing for the floor here that Kate's saying that she's excited to see Dave wearing a tie. That's very cool. Thanks, Kate. That's going to put you on, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Sorry.
So yoga is quite important to me, and sometimes I'll go on a holiday for a 5-day yoga retreat in Bali or something like that, just to really clear my mind. And that's really important just before you go into a new business or you take on a new part of a project, because you'll find your performance by taking a week out every here and there, you get a lot more achieved in that time. And for me, it's not the hours that you put in at all, it's what you put into the hours that counts. Yeah. So we all dream of following the book, The 4-Hour Work Week, but I haven't seen that achieved very often in reality. But you can aim towards that.
Okay. So when you say you do yoga, do you go to a formal class, or do you do it at home?
Yeah, no, I can't. I don't have the self-discipline to do it at home. I'll get distracted too easily, and I know my limitations. Yeah. So, and I subscribe to Headspace, because if I sit down to meditate, my mind wanders off too often, and having to rein that in is much easier if it's guided meditation through Headspace. It's a good app.
Yeah. Actually, let's tell them a little bit about it, because yes, I must admit, I always thought meditation, I thought I'd never be able to do it because it's something that just doesn't come naturally to me. But those apps can really help, because they take you on a journey, right?
Absolutely.
And they force you to, not force you, that's probably not the right word, but they do, they force you to kind of focus on what you're doing as opposed to being distracted by other things. Yeah,
absolutely. So you don't have to be the Dalai Lama to be able to do meditation. You know, this is meditation for dummies. It talks about things, simple things like breathing. And if you're breathing properly, you're oxygenating your system, you're lowering your adrenal responses, and you're starting to prepare your body to be able to think with a good level of mental clarity.
Yep.
So it starts there, and then it goes through to better sleep patterns and things like that. So you're genuinely refreshing your body for what the life outside throws at you, and you find, like playing table tennis, you can start to hit those back much quicker and more effectively.
Excellent. So tell me a little bit about sleep. Because sleep is one of my things that I have a challenge with. No problem with falling asleep. I can get to sleep in a heartbeat. I wake up readily early in the morning at 5 a.m. and jump out of bed, bright and cheery. But I often find myself waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Yep. And then unable to get back to sleep. So
I sometimes have those issues as well, and I think a lot of people do. Sometimes it can be you're just so excited about things coming up or stressed about things coming up.
Yep.
But it's not healthy to have disrupted sleep. So there are a number of, there are naturopathic solutions to that. Meditation certainly helped me with that. I didn't need any supplements, or occasionally I'll take magnesium, more because I'm cramping, but I find the secondary effect of that is I do seem to sleep a bit better as well. So it's about paying attention to your body.
Yep.
And I get an annual health checkup, which is like a blood diagnostics and all that kind of thing, to make sure my mineral balance is right and all that sort of thing. If you look after your body, it will look after you in being able to perform. And that also helps to raise your tolerance for stress.
Sure.
I guess if you're in harmony with your body and with your mind.
So if we talk about your sleep habits particularly, so do you have a set time to go to bed every night? Does it, what? No, it's when you feel like it.
No.
And then you meditate before you go to bed.
When I feel like it.
When you feel like
When
it.
I feel like it.
I'm so laid back.
I'll do it maybe three times a week.
Yep.
I also do it in the shower
Yep.
in the mornings.
Okay.
So I like the running water.
Okay.
And I find I just do my breathing exercises and try and clear my head instead of think about all the things I've got to do for the day, because I can't write them down in the shower.
Waterproof iPhones.
And then after I get out of the shower, then I start to write down some notes and things and
Yep. Okay.
plan out the day and try and stick to the plan so that I don't get sidetracked, which meditation helps you to.
Sure. And you talked about walking the dog. One
Absolutely.
of my favourite sort of daytime activities. It's
Yeah,
the way I start my day. So what do you do?
Well, that's another good way of, again, getting oxygen into your system and livening up your brain.
Yep.
If your brain's deoxygenated, you're not going to see the wood for the trees.
Yeah.
So having a dog's a great excuse to go for a walk.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would be your top tip for somebody who's feeling completely stressed out, overwhelmed, too many balls in the air, don't even know where to start? You know, you start talking about meditation, people go, I can't meditate. You talk about doing yoga, it's like, oh my God, I'm not flexible enough to do yoga. Breathing, I mean, I don't know, even the thought of breathing sometimes can feel overwhelming. So what would be your top tip just to help somebody?
I would get external help, would be my top tip, because sometimes when you're in the trenches, it's hard to actually see what's going on. And that could be just your health checkups, it could be getting a sleep consultant, or it could be going to yoga class. But as soon as you start to get some external help from someone that can see from the outside, and even a lot of business coaches, I mean, we all kind of recognise those signs and symptoms and are able to provide that kind of recommendation.
Yeah.
As soon as you get some external help and you start getting off the bottom end of that stress curve and coming back up, you start to become self-aware of that and able to pull yourself the rest of the way out of the trenches.
You become aware of it. Cool. Okay. Just want to ask, are there any questions from the floor that we'd like Dave to answer? Because obviously I could sit here and talk to him all evening about things we can do, but yes, okay.
Do you try and capitalise on healthy stress? Do you subscribe to the idea of there being
Yeah, if I don't have enough stress, I'll try and bring some extra activities, or I do charitable stuff as well. I try and bring more into my life so that I am back at that peak. Otherwise, you know, if you're on holiday for too long, you can tend to come back a little too relaxed. And I have that problem of getting back into the flow of things again, so I try and take some extra activities on.
Okay. We've also got a question from online. So do you find cooking relaxing?
No. I love cooking, but I'm a perfectionist, and I love cooking because I love eating.
Yeah.
So I'll try and make some sort of creation, but it's a bit like watching MasterChef. But you're the character of that. You stress yourself out trying to get everything hot at the same time and perfect, and it stresses me out a little, but I do it because I enjoy it.
You enjoy it, okay, fantastic. So what do you love as a sort of relaxation thing? I mean, we've talked about walking the dog, but what does actually really help
good question. So, I mean, just anything that involves the beach, waves, and for me, I fly as well, and I love all things aviation. I find as soon as you take off, you've left the world below you behind. Gliding is fantastic as well,
really?
Because it's super quiet. It's kind of like meditation in the sky.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Any other questions? Yeah.
So, my question is, when the pressure is mounting, when you feel like you've maxed out your bandwidth somewhere by around 2 o'clock, and you feel like you need to do something, otherwise you just like feel lobotomized for the rest of the day. How would you bring down the stress and perform under pressure in that situation?
Offloading. So I'll generally communicate if it's promises that I've made to clients or something like that, or to people, business partners, or anybody I'm working with, I'll generally I'll make 3 or 4 phone calls and say, hey, look, I'm really sorry, but I've been overloaded, something's come up, I'm not going to be able to deliver that promise tonight. But I am, however, going to make the time up on the weekend. People are usually understanding of that, and if they're not, they're a douche, so that's their problem, not yours. But as long as you're bringing yourself back from the bottom end of the stress curve and up by offloading, you're going to get more done and make more people happy. And that's all you can do is perform at your peak.
Yeah. Nice, like it.
It's okay.
Okay, so just in closing, I guess, there must be times when, when it doesn't all work out as you expect it to. Your top tip would be to get some outside help if you need it, yeah?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And who do you turn to?
That's a good point. I've had a number of influencers over the years who've I've got to a stage where I can manage that by myself. I haven't been able to not come back from that curve, but my mum is a naturopath, and so she's got a whole lot of people in her circle. I've had a psychologist and counsellor that I've had a few sessions with over the years.
Yep.
I've had a forum which was really useful through Entrepreneurs Organisation.
Yep.
That was really useful. Just being able to share your problems sometimes is a good way to actually get them off your chest.
Yep.
And some people that aren't in the trenches can see really obvious solutions.
Yeah.
So those forums were also a really useful way for me to deal with some of the things that were stressing me out.
Yeah. That's actually how we met. We met through the EO forum.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
That was a good thing all round. And I guess it's true, if you actually go to somebody who is a little bit removed from what you're doing but still knows you reasonably well, they can much more quickly see what's going on than you can in yourself.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, very helpful. Okay, great. Well, Dave, thank you. That's been really awesome.
Pleasure.
I really appreciate it. We'll get you back again soon for another
And
topic. Yeah.
if I was in that position now,
Yes.
there's a healer that works out of the common.
Yeah, that's true.
That I would probably turn to as
Yeah.
a good starting point.
And I've got to be honest, I'm not just saying this, but I actually do believe that when you mix healing with business coaching, you actually get a really good mixture, because you get that sort of personal stuff and the energy side of things, as well as the sort of more pragmatic kind of business coaching and that prioritization matrix stuff. So, yep, definitely something you can do. And as Dave said, talking to somebody like a business coach from the outside can be really helpful, because they do get to see things a lot less emotionally involved, and they're looking at much more from a pragmatic point of view and can actually help to prioritize things. So, hey, if you want to have a chat to Dave, let us know. I'm sure he'd be happy to help. Now, next week, we're going to take a wee break. We've got an event on here at the Common, so we won't be having a coach at the Common. But the week after, we've got something really quite exciting. We have got our resident coaches, Apollo and Artemis, and they're going to be talking to us about what we can learn from dogs, both in our personal life and in our business life. And they're going to be sharing their thoughts. They can't actually talk because they're dogs, but they're going to be sharing their thoughts through the camera on what we can do and what we can learn from dogs. So give us a miss next week, but the week after, which I think is the 11th of October, I think, from memory, something like that. Anyway, 2 weeks from today, it is the 9th. Okay, well, I'm way ahead of myself. We'll be talking with Apollo and Artemis. In the meantime, if you've got any other questions, you can always leave a question below in the comments. We'll come back to you straight away. And don't forget, you can always come and join us here at the Common too. So we actually have these sessions here for you to come and join us and actually talk to us. If you do come and join us, you can talk to the coaches after the session as well. So it's a nice little bonus ad. In the meantime, have a fantastic couple of weeks, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Cheers.
Thank you.